Supplemental draft, reportedly going to be July 11th. It hasn't taken place since 2019, I believe. And Jordan Dejani for CBS Sports wrote about it on the site. And one of the subheadlines is, what's the point of it? And it's basically a situation where for various reasons, if you were ineligible for the draft, if you hadn't declared for the draft during the regular draft period, you have an opportunity to get drafted over the summer. How does it work? The supplemental draft order is different from the regular draft order. Teams are separated into 3 groups based on the previous season. The first group is non-playoff teams, had 6 or fewer wins. That won't be the Buccaneers next year because you said they're winning more than 6.5 games. The second group is non-playoff teams with more than 6 wins, and the final group are the playoff teams. And then the order is determined by a weighted lottery, sort of NBA style. And one of the things that I remember someone telling me early on in the sort of supplemental draft process is if you take a player in the 4th round this year, actually, never mind, forget it. I don't want to I'll confuse myself. So anyway, just to continue quickly, bids for players are submitted blindly by teams with the round that team would want the player to be selected. So let's say Bryce Young is in this draft class. You would probably have 20 bids first round, and then it would be broken down by the 3 groups that we talked about: non-playoff teams, fewer than 6 wins; non-playoff teams, 6+ wins; and then the playoff teams. And then whoever finished last year, whoever that was, it wasn't the Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears would be awarded Bryce Young, for example. But it could be a player like, let's say we talked about Cody Mock, the 2nd round pick, interior offensive lineman for the Buccaneers. There could be teams that desperately need help after minicamp. Maybe there's an injury or something, and they put a late 1st round grade on him, or their 1st round grade. There's going to be teams that say, all right, let's see if he slips by. We'll put a 3rd round grade on him. And then no one knows anything, and you just find out magically whether you landed that guy or not. Did you ever submit any supplemental draft bids?
No, you do your work, which is, to be honest with you, it's the dreaded supplemental draft. No one really looks forward to the supplemental draft because that takes out another some time away from your downtime a little bit in the off season. So you do the basic thing. You know, some of these kids that will come out in the supplemental draft will have a workout, usually at some high school or something. You may send one of your area scouts down there. If you have any interest, you do the tape work on them, try to get the information on them. But a lot of times the supplemental draft, at least what I recall, was done within 2 hours or less, because a lot of teams, after you've evaluated, if you have no interest in this player, you just write an email into the league that we're not, we forfeit all our picks. We're not going to spend a pick on any of these players. So half those teams probably will do that. Rare that. Can I ask you, there was one player, I think the 1st round in the supplemental draft was the only one that I can recall. The quarterback out of Duke, was it Dave Brown?
So I got a couple names for you. Yeah, so Dave Brown, that's right, 1992 out of Duke, supplemental draft pick for the Giants. He played
How about that recall?
That was really good. Oh, you have top of your head. I got a couple other names for you. I'll go back to 85. Bernie Kosar was a supplemental 1st round pick. He graduated after his junior year, which apparently was a reason that you weren't in you went through the graduation process and maybe decided afterwards. I'm not sure the details. 87. Here, we'll play a little game. 87 linebacker out of Oklahoma.
I have no clue.
Brian Bosworth.
Bos came out?
Yeah. Bosworth has been dismissed from the Oklahoma football team following the 1986 season. Since he was a junior, he was eligible to be chosen in the 87 draft, but did not declare before the deadline. This is according to Wikipedia, so take that for what it's worth. So that's a big name. All right, wide receiver out of Ohio State, went to the Eagles in 1987.
Oh, that's an easy one. Chris Carter.
Chris Carter, 4th round. So I think he had some off-field issues. Yeah, he was suspended before his senior season, so that perhaps had something to do with it. All right, 89 draft. Quarterback, 1st round out of Miami. Went to the Cowboys.
89?
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson. And this is the year after, I believe, they took Troy Aikman.
Boy, I was trying to think. 89. It wasn't Kosar, because Kosar was Miami. 85. I got another quick story about Bernie Kosar. But I don't know that one.
Steve Walsh. Remember Steve Walsh?
Oh, Steve Walsh. Yeah.
What's your Bernie Kosar story?
Real quick, I was in high school. I was a quarterback at Massillon High School.
You were a option running back or just a thrower?
No, we were running the run and shoot back then.
Run and shoot. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I was getting recruited. Most everybody looked at me as an athlete rather than a quarterback, although I thought I was Dieter Brock from the old Canadian
I remember
League.
Dieter Brock played for the Rams for a little bit.
And so Miami came in. I met with them. They came out to practice, and then they went on to the next school in Ohio, small school, Boardman. And then I never heard back from Miami again. And I was like, what the hell? I was like all set. I was going to get my flip-flops out, Debo and everything, and ready to go down to Miami. And here they offered Bernie Kosar instead of me at the quarterback position.
You think it worked out for Bernie okay?
Yeah, he did okay.
He did okay.
They probably made a good personnel decision that year.
Now, did you face Bernie in high school, or was it too far away?
No, it wasn't too far away. They just were. Massillon played. We weren't going to play a Boardman. We were going to play
different divisions.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right, a couple other names. Do you remember Tim Rosenbach, quarterback?
He was out from out west, wasn't he?
Washington State. He also went the first round in '89. So 2 first-round quarterbacks.
That was different. Now you got to remember that's pre-CBA.
That's true.
So,
and also a running back out of Alabama in the first round that year, '89, went to Denver. Bobby Humphrey. And I'll mention just a couple other names. Terrell Pryor, 3rd-round pick in 2011. Josh Gordon, 2012, out of Baylor. He had gotten dismissed from the Baylor team, went to the Browns, 2nd-round pick. And then the last name I'll mention is Jalen Thompson. He's the last guy to be drafted in the supplemental draft. 2019, he was a 5th rounder for the Cardinals out of Washington State. He just signed a 3-year, $40 million contract extension. So good news for him. There are some success stories even recently from the supplemental draft. But
most of those guys now are going to enter the transfer portal.
That's a great point as well. So I think there's one name mentioned. I think Dane Brugler mentioned one name. I didn't recognize it. I'll look at it. And Milton Wright, Purdue wide receiver. Dane mentioned him as a possible target during the supplemental draft. That'll be next month in July. We'll circle back to that if we need to. But for now, that's it. That's a wrap on episode 59.
Are we going to have a mock supplemental draft?
Well, I teased it at the top of the show. You're supposed to give us your top 20, and you refused. So that's your fault. You don't do regular mock drafts. You don't do supplemental mock drafts.